everyone. Welcome to Spirit Road. And this week we are so excited because we have wonderful Travis, Warrior Unicorn, with us. He's an amazing medium. Hi, Travis. Welcome.
Hi, Laurie and Tim. It's so good to see you both.
So
It
good
is
to
really
see
good to
you.
see you too. Yeah, your
Yeah.
energy followed you. I mean, like could feel your energy before you came into the room. It's like I just got this excitement. It's like Travis, yeah. It's been a while
Yes.
since we've seen you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I'm glad that energy translates because I've had a full day of reading. So I'm glad
Oh,
that I've still
wow.
got some juice in the tank. So
Cool. Now, are you doing individual readings then?
today was one-on-one sessions. Yeah.
Okay. And are you doing them in person or through Zoom or?
A blend of both now. So
Oh,
today
nice.
was all Zoom, but like my office is in my home.
Mhm.
So like I only have like clients that I trust, to give my address to that come over. But
Yes.
so I have a couple of in-persons here at home, but then most of them are Zoom.
Nice. You've
Yeah.
also been doing some traveling and group readings. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I love doing group events, and so I've done a couple of live events now where it's usually in like a 200-person theater, and I do what's in the mediumship or in the spiritualism community, it's called platform mediumship, which is where I get up on a stage and I just let kind of spirit direct me of where we need to go and where we deliver evidential messages to in the audience. And so it's been really fun. And I love those events because even if somebody isn't getting a reading or hearing from their loved one,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of healing
Yes.
energy that's happening
Mhm.
in the room. So I feel very fortunate to be able to do that. So and it's fun for me. Like I love being on a stage and a microphone and the lights, so it's
Yeah.
good.
Has it always been that way? Like, so I know, this has been a journey for you the last few years of kind of really
Mhm.
embracing mediumship and kind of stepping into this space and this role and your skills and
Mhm.
but I'm curious about what that journey is like. How do you go from doing individual readings and card pulls to being on the big stage? Like what's because that's a skill, right? I mean, like to be able to be intuitive in that kind of space with that many people has got to
Yeah.
take some work.
Yeah, that's a good question. When I first started doing readings, it was card readings on
Mhm.
TikTok, and then, we went into more one-on-one sessions, and then now I don't use any tool. I'm not averse to tools. I just don't use them.
Uh,
And now it's all spirit mediumship and which is not where I kind of thought I was going to head. I kind of just thought I would be reading tarot and that's it. And so it's been interesting to have that kind of go on that journey with spirit because it's not one that I had planned for myself, but spirit has other plans, right? But it's been so fun and exciting, and I think that what's been a big learning lesson for me is that it's a different energy. Doing readings and like group settings is a different energy, and so just learning how to kind of hold my balance during those things has been a big part of my own development. Um, and I think for me, growing up, I always loved being on stage. I love being in musicals. I was in like every talent show growing up. So, and then I did drag when I was in my late teens and early 20s. So like I've always just loved being on the stage. And now I get to be on a stage, but also deliver these wonderful, beautiful healing messages. It feels so good all around.
Yeah, if I had a question, which I think you might have just answered, like I'm curious, one, what the best part of it is for you, like what the most fulfilling part of this is, but then also two, maybe what's the most challenging?
Yeah, the most fulfilling is like seeing the healing happen.
Mhm.
And because I acknowledge I sometimes I call myself a healer, but I don't believe I actually heal anybody. I think we heal
Right.
ourselves and healers just hold that energy. But just to see somebody, if we're delivering a message from a loved one, just to see somebody release the burden of their grief or their resentment or their pain and really feel free, and you can see it happen when you deliver a message from someone's loved one. You just see their whole body language relax and open up, and to know that that is happening, and not only just happening for the person that's maybe getting a reading in a group setting, but happening for others in the audience as well, is so beautiful. And I think the most challenging piece of it sometimes can be, I am a Virgo perfectionist through and through, and I will just work myself and work myself. And so lately, and this is a lesson I'm actually working through right now with myself, is honoring my own boundaries, but not boundaries to, not do the work, but boundaries to do the work and do it in a healthy way for myself, to where I'm not overextending and over committing. So that's been a very interesting lesson to learn, and I'm still learning it.
Yes, yes. How did you go down the path of being a medium?
Yeah.
How did that evolve for you?
Yeah, it started when I was doing, um, well, I say it started when I was doing tarot readings, but really, it's been something that's come in and out of my life.
Mm.
When I was a child, I would go and read books in my grandmother's book room, and there were some like occult books in there. And so I would read some of these things, and I would be there with my imaginary friends, and then realizing my imaginary friends were actually guides or loved ones. And then, and when I was a little bit older, I would drink, and then when I drank, and do not drink and divinate, I do not recommend it, but when I would drink, these extra senses would open up, and I would feel energy around me because I got out of my way at,
Mhm.
doing that. And then when I started doing readings for money professionally, uh, it would just pop up in tarot readings, and I would just receive little things like, oh, I've got a grandmother here for you. I've got your grandpa here. He's giving me the name Buck, and he's talking about, this and that. And then, the client would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's my dad or my uncle or my grandpa. So it became this kind of natural evolving thing that I didn't necessarily anticipate was going to be a part of my journey, but I'm glad that it did. And it's like anything else. There is a natural ability there, but you also have to do a bit of learning and development. And I've developed for a little bit with Laurie, and I've developed with Charles Cox,
Mhm.
and I've studied at Arthur Finley, and I continue to be that student of spirit. So, still evolving. I don't know if there was like one defining moment where it was like, yeah, I'm a medium. It was more so just like little things that happened to where eventually it's like, oh, well, this is what we do now.
Sure. And yet also too, there probably has to come a moment for you to have the confidence to be able to do that in gallery settings where you really do have to own that for yourself, right? So on one hand, you have to get out of your way to let these things come through, but you have to also have the confidence that you're walking into these situations and that you can connect, right? To me, that feels terrifying.
Yeah, my first gallery reading, or my first like live event, it was at a brewery in Denver, and Laurie was there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it, like, there were a lot of things that I just didn't anticipate when I started. And you know I think sometimes we hear about the wins that happen in life, and I'm so big about, I love talking about the times where like I didn't win, or I had like the misstep, because I think it's very normal that it happens. But this one particular event, it was last June, it was my very first one. There were like 40 people there, and I go out on the stage. I didn't set any boundaries with spirit. I didn't let spirit know how I wanted to receive the information. I didn't say, okay, everyone line up. I just was like, let's do it. And the whole time before that, I was crying. I remember like crying in the bathroom, and I was like dry heaving, and I was having like a mild panic attack. And then I go out, which I know now, yes, I was nervous, but it was also me feeling all of that energy.
Mm.
And then I go out and I hit the stage and I just feel like I am just hit with this like tidal wave of energy. And it took me a good 20, 30 minutes to really ground into it, truthfully. It took me a
Yeah.
minute and there was a lot of like, there was a lot of fumbling and there was a lot of no's. But I think that when you just kind of, when you push through that or you find a way to just handle the no's or handle the I'm not sure's, you know, I do believe that spirit always has your back and helps you learn and helps you grow if you're open. So I'm thankful for those experiences. But yes, I was terrified, Tim, and that's a real thing. I was scared out of my mind, but you know, it's you do it anyway, right?
You do. How do you have everybody line up then, the spirit world? How do you tell them to be organized and set that boundary when you are doing readings? Because like you say, that would be my concern is in that big setting that all that energy comes, it's just right there present and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it's, you know, I look at it. So the way that I started looking at it is like this. Um, Before I do any type of group setting, I will talk to my guides and I'll tell them exactly how I want to receive the information.
Mhm.
I want everyone to line up. I want one at a time. I want clear, specific messages in earth time, not in spirit time. I want it in
Mhm.
earth time. And that's how I want it. And I set very firm. Now, going into it, sometimes, yes, I will get that little bit of that rush of energy again. So what I've started doing is just focusing on it as like I'm talking to someone at a party. There's
Wow.
all these people around, but my attention is right here focused on the person that I'm speaking with. And
Mhm.
that has served me so well. So that's how I've kind of shifted. And sometimes that happens even in one-on-one readings, especially if
Mhm.
somebody has a lot of loved ones that they're hoping comes through, they want to connect with.
Mhm.
It's, I just had it earlier today. I had like two mother figures that were coming through,
Wow.
and I was like, okay, I've got both um grandma on this side, and I've got grandma on this side. So I'm like, I'm gonna just have them one at a time. And it was almost like, you know, we're at a party. I'm like, I'm just focusing on this one. Okay, now I'm coming over. I'm focusing here.
Mhm.
So I think that we have to um remind spirit how we want to work. Because if we're just like, I'm open, then great, you're gonna get everything and anything thrown in there. So I just try to be clear. And if I feel myself kind of slipping or more energy coming through, I just ground and focus in the moment.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, it is. When you're receiving messages, I mean, I'm hearing a lot that it's a lot of from loved ones who have passed on, but also recognizing you probably have messages from spirit guides or um, angels, energetic beings. I don't know what you would say, but like, do you notice different qualities? Do you notice directions that they come in? Like, what is the experience of receiving for you?
My experience is that I receive the information through different aspects of my physical body.
Hmm.
So if I'm connecting to loved ones or the souls of loved ones who have crossed over, I feel that more in my solar plexus and in my heart centers. So when I'm feeling that energy, it'll come through as almost like an anxiety or a nervousness. And then I know, okay, I've got somebody that was here in a physical vessel that is connected to this person, that is a soul that is um, on the other side that's ready to share some messages. And then I'll get the hear, you know, I'll see the things in my mind's eye, or I'll hear the name, or I'll get the, you know, where the dis-ease was in the body prior to the passing, or however. If it's a sudden passing, if it's somebody who passed through their own, by their own free will, or overdose, or died tragically, I will start to sweat profusely and I'll feel like I'm being pulled out of my skin. But I still, all of that still originates from like my heart or my solar plexus. If I'm connecting into angels or guides, it's more of my upper chakras. So I'm feeling it more, my upper energy centers, usually coming in through the top of my head, or I'll feel the feeling come through my throat.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
And
fascinating.
So that's how I've noticed it works for now. But here's the fun thing. Spirit sometimes likes to change things up on me. So for now, that's how it feels.
Mhm. Wow.
And
Yeah.
with loved ones, I get a little bit more of the information about the loved one or about the person that I'm reading for, those messages of, hey, I see that you're changing your job. Relax, it's going to be okay. Or, hey, I see we just had a baby. Congratulations. Guides and angels, they're giving me more of the here's where you're holding on to the energy that's holding you back, or here's how you
Mhm.
align to where you get to where you want to be.
Mm.
So the information also feels a little bit different as well.
So when you're in those big groups
Mhm.
and you're standing up there on stage, how do you know? So somebody starts talking with you, they're not saying, okay, go to this person sitting over here in the blue sweater. How do you know, or how do you connect with the person in the audience?
So it's actually funny. So I'll receive information in that kind of setting a couple of different ways. Sometimes I'll stand on stand on the stage, and I'll receive, like, I've got this mother figure, past of cancer, the name Mary is connected, or Denise or whatever, and then all of a sudden you'll see hands coming up, and then I'll kind of gravitate towards who it feels like. What has started happening in live events now is Spirit is having me get off the stage and walk through the audience and go directly to people, which is like
Nice.
not just mind blowing for the people in the audience, but for me, I'm like, oh wow. Uh, well, this is fun because I feel my body being pulled. So it's a couple of different ways. I've gone back and watched video of me do the last event we did in February in Tacoma in this beautiful theater called the Blue Mouse Theater. I went back and watched some video that a friend had taken, and it was so fun to watch, like just watch my mannerism shift and change as I'm doing each
Mhm.
reading, watch like the inflection in my voice change. It was really cool to kind of watch back because when it's happening, I'm not really
Right.
present while it's happening. Like I'm there, but like I'm not there, if you know what I
Right.
mean.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So when you're not doing readings, either
Mhm.
one-on-one or in groups, how do you shut it down, or how do you step away from it so that you're not inundated with all this voices in your head all the time?
Yeah, I put a do not disturb sign up, like when I'm done.
I love that. Yes.
I feel so grateful. I have had some amazing teachers like you, Laurie, and Charles, and like I am truthfully so I just feel like my guides took me to the exact people that I needed to be with at the exact part of my journey, because when I first started, truthfully, I did, hear things like, after hours, so to speak, or like, I'd be in the grocery store and I'd be like, oh, holy shit, I got to go tell this man that his wife is okay, like, but I never felt like I was being hounded all of the time because of the
Mhm.
teachers that I met. It was like the very first thing that like a lot of teachers told me was like, just turn it off when you're not working, shut down, turn it off.
Mhm.
And that has been such valuable advice. So yeah, do not disturb sign, volume knob turned down, tell them to clear out, I'm not working, whatever,
Mhm.
whatever feels right in the moment.
This is
Good.
kind of a variation of the same question, but like thinking about how much you hold space for other people, which I mean, I've heard so many wonderful things too. I mean, you were adored by the community, and people have had really wonderful experiences with you.
Aw.
You're wonderful at holding space. And then how do you create that space for yourself? Like what when you step away from all of this, what's a day in the life look like now? Because
Man,
it's changed a lot, right? Yeah.
it has changed a lot. A lot has changed, and there's a lot more energy that's coming through. Um, there's a lot more that's happening just in my
Mm.
life professionally and personally. And
Mhm.
so I love this question, and I'm laughing at the synchronicity of it because this is literally the lesson that I'm working through right now is
Mm.
how to give myself those boundaries so I can love and nurture myself. Um, it's funny. I am so stubborn. I am we'll blame it on me being a Virgo. I just blame everything on that, whether it's true or not. But you know, I am so stubborn that like there's a medium that I adore and respect and love. And I just reached out to her asking like a question about something completely random. And she was like, can I call you about this? And I was like, okay. So she calls me and she goes, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I just feel like I need to tell you to honor your own personal boundaries. And I was like, well, I can tell you why you're telling me that. And I'm like, and I'm laughing. I'm like, that's how stubborn I have to be. I have to get somebody that I love, adore, and respect, who I've never talked with on the phone, to like call me and tell me to like chill, right? So, but I think that's the thing that I also notice with a lot of people who are healers. We want to take care of other people. We want to nurture other people. Very seldomly we will turn that back towards ourselves. And so that's what I'm learning is if I schedule myself to only read for 3 days, honor that. It's just 3 days. That's it. We're not doing any more. We're not doing any less. And so I'm walking through that lesson. I don't have an answer for you, Tim. I try to do my best of like going to the water, meditating, eating right. But you know, I'm acknowledging that there are just some times where it's like you just need to like not do readings for a few days.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and it's a question for
Yeah.
me too. I mean, I've been on this journey of going back to school for hypnotherapy, and I'm excited. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I'm super excited for it, and it's learning all sorts of good things, getting to work with people in different ways. And yet had a moment just the other day where I realized how much I stopped making space for music, which was such a huge part of my journey for so many years, or for drawing, these things that are just kind of, these personal explorations, and recognizing, oh, there's probably an opportunity to recalibrate a little bit here, because ultimately, if I'm not taking care of myself and honoring my own journey, how much space can I hold for others? Yeah.
Laurie, how do you take care of yourself? I don't know. I look at you, Laurie, and I just think like Laurie's got it all figured out. How do you?
She does. She won't admit it, but she does.
I actually do not, but I put on a good front. It's because I was a social worker. So,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was thinking as you were talking, I use meditation a lot. I
Yeah.
try to meditate every morning when I first get up, and that keeps me centered. And it seems to me in this part of my life, I'm surrounded by everyone who is on their own little journey. And so I spend a lot of time just even with friends talking about their spiritual journeys or talking about messages we're getting or the struggles we're having working with shadow or whatever's coming up in the moment. But to me, that's also nurturing because it gives me some support for, oh, good, I'm not the only crazy one out here having
Mhm.
all this stuff going on internally. And I just think it's an ongoing lesson, just an ongoing figuring it out as you go, because it changes, like you said. Spirit changes things up all the time,
Yeah.
and we never know. So learning to listen. I was actually reading an article this morning in this journal that I get about breath work and how every moment, like during your day,
Mhm.
every once in a while stop and count like 2 to 3 breaths, because what that does, it brings you back to your center, back into your heart space, and we breathe anyway, so now it's just paying attention to it because it brings you back to the moment. And the gentleman writing it said that the more you can do that throughout the day, it trains your body to stay in that place of calm, so that when you're faced with something stressful, you're automatically able to take a couple of breaths and your body immediately responds to being, oh, okay, I can stay calm and centered in this moment. So I've been trying to work with that because I've been working with breath during my meditations, and it's very powerful. So it's
Mhm.
one way to stay very centered in the moment. And it's like whenever you think of it during the day, just refocus your attention and just count a couple of breaths in and out and then move on with your day.
I love that. I'm gonna
Yeah, it's so simple.
yeah.
Yeah. So that might be one way too of staying real centered and take good care of yourself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the synchronicities here. Like, just for me,
Yeah.
I had a hard week last week because I was recovering from illness. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you have
Mhm.
so many things going on and then suddenly you can't do any of them, when you finally are well enough to return to the world, it's hard to know where to start. And so the last couple of days, I've been meditating in the morning, but I've been starting it with the Wim Hof breath method,
Mm.
and and noticing that, yeah, when I can really, really focus on my breath without thinking about meditation or worrying about stilling my mind, I'm just going to breathe. That actually, if I go into meditation right from that, things are much clearer, much calmer. You are creating that association between this moment of stillness, this awareness, and allowing things to gently fall away. So yeah, it's a wonderful way to start the day too. Finding like I'm super productive when I can start my day that way.
Mhm.
You
I
know.
love
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Yeah.
So, what kinds of things are you looking forward to in your journey next? I mean, it's already been this amazing
Yeah.
kind of series of events and being in community in these incredible ways. And what comes next for Travis?
Oh, I think what comes next is I learned some boundaries.
Yeah. Sure.
There's some exciting things that I'm working on that I can't quite talk about yet, but
Mhm.
I think for me, um, it- I just I love getting excited about what's coming.
Mm.
I'm also just appreciating moments like this where I can have a conversation with friends, where I can take some time just to be present. Um, of course I have like my manifestation list and we're just checking things off, but honestly, just those moments of just feeling centered and present feels so good right now. So that's what I'm focusing the most on. It's funny, I think, um, I teach a lot of clients about manifestation and conscious creation and all of that. Um, but I've recently really just discovered the joy of just focusing my attention of right where I'm at in the moment and just being there.
Mhm.
So what's next is right now. I don't know. Like, is that
Yeah, that's a great answer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you're still getting out with friends, being social, enjoying
Yeah, oh
yourself,
my goodness.
having a
Yes.
life.
Yeah, I just got this is so funny. I just got like a Nintendo Switch,
Oh, nice.
which I keep calling a Game Boy Switch because that's just the generation that I came from, is like the Game Boy generation. So like I've just started I've just started playing like video games and reading non-metaphysically based books,
Mhm.
and I love going to the water. I feel very fortunate that I live in Washington State, and
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
beautiful water is just very close. And so being by the water, and I still maintain my spiritual practice of meditation and affirmations, but I think for me, I went through that phase of like spiritual ego where it was like spirituality has to look this way for me. And now I'm like, I can be spiritual playing this damn Mario Kart. What do you mean? Like which
That's
has
right.
been really freeing and fun. Like it's nice
Mhm.
having that integration of all of those parts and everything I do. So that's been a joy.
And that's really the point. I mean, it is really who we are. And so, yeah, we just live it every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a moment a few weeks ago where I had gone to meet a friend for a walk at the park, and I got there early and ended up sitting on a park bench, and there was just a lake in front of me and little baby ducks, and just, yeah, it was just this beautiful kind of peaceful, serene scene. And I had this realization. It's like I haven't done this in a while. I am always on the move. I'm always going. I'm always planning, trying to figure out what comes next. Like if I can't sit on a park bench and just feel the breeze and watch the ducks, like what am I doing any of this for? So yeah, it was a really centering kind of reset for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've noticed for me that if I think that I don't know, I've kind of reframed balance for myself, and that's just sometimes think times are just busier than others or more full than others. And um, but what I've noticed for myself is that if I am not taking time to slow down intentionally, the universe will slow me down.
Mhm.
I'll get really sick. I'll get like a chronic sinus infection, which I didn't have before. Or I'll get like these swings of feelings of depression that will come through. And that's been my indicator lately of like, it's time to slow down.
Yeah.
So my
Mhm.
goal now is really just to like slow down before those things happen.
Yes,
But it's
absolutely.
but it's tough. It's so tough, especially when you've got this like subconscious programming of like perfectionism and being enough, and then working through your own kind of scarcity things that weren't, it's not my story, but it's a story from somebody else that I've just decided to own. So,
Mhm.
but I think that's the gift in all of this as well, is that awareness of, well, I definitely have this going on. So how can I lean into my team and my guides and
Mhm.
spirit to help me expand and to help me bring love to those parts of myself that need that love?
Yeah. When you're receiving all of these messages and kind of connected in that way on a day-to-day basis, would you say that are you seeing any consistency in the themes, the kinds of things that are coming through for people?
The biggest thing that I see that's really echoing right now and really resonates for me too
Hmm.
is that, especially when we talk about kind of like creating our life or manifesting or the reality that we're living in. Um, the biggest thing I heard something reframed the other day, and I can't shake it, and it's so beautiful, is that the opposite of fear is not courage, it's freedom. And it might be specific to the person I was reading for, but for me, I took it as my own as well, because I was like, this feels so
Yeah.
good. And so really what I've just been focusing on more is like the feeling of freedom. And what I keep seeing come up for people is feelings of scarcity or lack or feeling caged or feeling the effects of physical dis-ease, and how that can cause energy buildup or density around things that may not be desired. And so focusing on like the feeling of freedom and holding that in my body and then sharing that message with other people as well has been definitely something that's been coming up a lot more, especially I think as we see things that are happening in the world, right? Because if something is happening to another human, it's also happening to us.
Mhm.
And so seeing just certain things happening in the world and feel and this feeling of almost powerlessness, because it's things that are happening that we can't control, and it's so far away, right? Like, what's the best way that we can contribute? And that is our own freedom. And so that's been something that's been really echoing pretty heavy lately.
Yeah, I feel the ripples of that. I mean, I feel like we're living in a time, for whatever reason, astrologically, energetically, post-COVID, I don't know what it is, but that a lot of people are really recognizing that the old ways of being are no longer making them happy, if they ever did. And really what they're finding is this desire to be more connected, to be more aligned with their passions and their talents, with this experience of spirit, having human experience, life as it is. And as more and more people are stepping into that, it becomes permissive of others to recognize that there might be a different way of being, almost like we're seeing our systems kind of slowly starting to break down and something new is emerging. But you mentioned programming too. And as this happens for all of us, we hit all of this resistance of homeostasis and these old belief systems that tell us what we're capable of or what we're not. And when we step into something new, it's scary
Yeah.
for us, for the subconscious, and to try and reprogram that is it's monumental. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's not. And we want the feeling of safety and security. Like that
Mhm.
is what our brain, our fear is, right? Right? Like fear is just our body's natural way of just telling us like, hey, like you need to protect yourself or feel safe, right? But I don't know. I used to say that the only thing that was secure was your own relationship with yourself. But even I've come to find that's not true, because I will totally abandon, we were talking about boundaries. I will so abandon myself to take care of someone else. So I don't know. Now I'm like, I don't know if I believe in true security or safety, but I do believe in freedom.
Mhm.
And I do believe that I think a lot of people are looking for safety and security for sure. And I think that's a natural thing to look for, right? We crave that. We need that on a biological level. We need that, right? But I don't know. For me, it's been that reframe of I don't necessarily know if I believe in true security or true safety, but I do believe in freedom. And so that's just kind of been where my
Yeah.
thoughts have been lately. And maybe
Mhm.
next time I'm on, that'll shift to something else. But right now, that's kind of where my thoughts are now, and what's been coming up for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people who are in this kind of unknown area of their life, which is where the magic is, because that's where the new stuff is created. But it can also be
Mhm.
terrifying. Like I've been there and I've been terrified, and I'm like, consulting the tarot deck every day, and I'm like, getting readings done left and right, before, but so I've been there. I totally have been there.
Mhm.
I think for me, part of it has been to realize that my sense of security and safety isn't outside of me. It's really inside, and really focusing internally and finding that for myself there. Because I think
Yeah.
we're so conditioned to look outside ourselves for all of that. And that's just not where we're going to find it. And I think, Tim, you're right. I mean, everybody is in upheaval because everything's kind of up for grabs right now. Everything's getting thrown out and we're being pushed to change. And
Yeah.
that's scary
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
I agree. And what I'm finding too, because I find a lot of people who are fresh. Well, I say fresh, but just aware that they're on their
Mhm.
spiritual journey,
Right.
Mhm.
and what's interesting is that, and I get this saying, it's a very similar kind of story with also listening to your intuition, right? That we've got that
Mhm.
intuition within us that we can hear. We've got that sense of security and safety that is within us. But if somebody doesn't have a regulated nervous system, or is filled with like anxiety or fear, those things are going to be so hard to hear for them. So, which is so funny, because like I think, you know, at the beginning, the beginning of this journey too, right? Like I had a hard time hearing my intuition or feeling safe, because I didn't know when I was abandoning myself, or know when my nervous system wasn't regulated. So of course I can't hear my intuition. Of course I'm going to be listening to my anxiety before I listen to my what my heart is actually telling me. And I think that's been such an interesting thing to witness and to help people walk through and discover, of like, 'cause people are like, I just keep hearing, listen to my intuition, but I can't hear it. I can't hear it. It's like, yeah, no, of course you can't. Like, you're filled with anxiety. Of course you can't, you can't hear your intuition.
Right.
And I agree with you, Laura. I do think that true sense of security and safety, it is within us. I also think for people like me who is so used to abandoning themselves, that can be really hard to find until you understand, like, okay, I'm abandoning myself here. Let me just pull it on back and bring it back to my own sense of security and well-being. So that's been interesting to see people at that place in their journey.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's very powerful.
Well, Travis, it's been awesome having you here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us again. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always a pleasure.
I have a real quick question. When are you coming back to the Denver area?
Well, soon. I know I owe Denver a visit, and I want to visit Denver. So soon. TBD.
Okay. All right. Well, we love you here. So lots of people will be excited when you are
Yeah,
here.
Yes.
if anybody
Yes.
wanted to follow you and find out what you were up to, where would they look?
Oh, everything is updated almost to the minute on Instagram. So my Instagram is Travis Warrior Unicorn. I still have a TikTok. I don't use it as often, but Instagram is
Mhm.
mostly where I'm at these days.
Awesome.
And So that'd be also where people could go to schedule an appointment with you if they wanted to
Yeah.
have a reading.
Yep, you can go through my Instagram or travisholp.com.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
Wow.
I look forward to
Yeah.
next time.
It's great to see you both.
You too.